bigger fan of pumpkin mode than me. Brew mentioned it a few years ago. I took it. Turned it into a full brand, tried to sprinkle it all over the show. And I know that Sam Darnold is always pumpkin mode adjacent. He hasn't gone full pumpkin mode. Did he play great against the Jets, who have a great defense? No, he didn't. But the Jets defense only given up 136 yards a game. But they still won. You said Patrick Mahomes undefeated. Yeah, guess who's the only other quarterback there who's undefeated? Maybe Flacco's undefeated, not sure. It's Brock Purdy. No, I'm sorry. It's Sam Darnold. People on his line. Wins, losses. 11 wins, 13 losses. Let's see how it shakes out. How many of those is Darnold responsible for? He's the only guy winning. He's carrying that whole line there on Mahomes Mountain. Look at his stats just by the numbers. He's not, I don't even know how far you have him down there, 20th or something. He's not 20th in anything. He's still good despite this bad game. And finally, Justin Jefferson, still unstoppable.
Yeah.
Had a good game. It was his worst game, and it was still a great game. He had 3 pass interferences and 1 illegal contact.
Yeah.
I'm going to add those to his stats and give them to Sam Darnold so his numbers go up too. The guy's undefeated. Okay. I know it's not quarterback wins mountain, but it's not.
Here's the thing.
You know, I remember him when he was on the Jets mountain either.
Okay, it's a rich tapestry is what it is, mountain. Here's the thing. First of all,
It's I make up whatever I want to do, mountain.
a little worried that Sam Darnold's pumpkin mode is going to be accelerated because of the injury to his running back. We now think he's going to be out potentially longer than we thought. Can we show you some numbers? What, Greg?
I'm just because you're speaking to the future of Sam Darnold versus what he's been.
Well, I got to tell you something. Part of the reason that Mahomes Mountain is America's most trusted quarterback ranking system is because there is a slight glance to the future. We don't want to look foolish. We don't want to look ridiculous. We don't want to look reactionary. And without Aaron Jones on the field, he has already been in pumpkin mode. In London against the Jets, who you just called a great defense, but I have heard you on the show every time Bruce says the Jets have a great defense, you say, do they? Really? Are you sure?
In a few weeks.
So
Patriots game.
I have a exercise we're gonna do, Wilds.
Oh God.
I apologize.
The dunce cap.
Nope. We are gonna see who turns into a pumpkin first.
What are the options?
Sam Darnold or this actual pumpkin? We're just gonna leave it in the studio. I understand. And at one point it's gonna, like pumpkins get mushy and bad after a while.
I hate to say it.
Will this pumpkin outlast Sam Darnold before he turns into pumpkin?
Just for the record, if you know anything about pumpkins, my dad grew a few pumpkins. They don't really rot for a long time. The squirrels got to get to them.
Really?
Yeah, this pumpkin's going to be here.
Well, then, Rick is telling me put it on top of the snow. Rick, I can't reach that far in the suit. It's very tight and it's a heavy-ass pumpkin. I'll toss it. There we go. Breaking everything down. I told you, Rick.
Desk. That's pumpkin mode.
Yeah, Sam Darnold. Pumpkin watch just like that pumpkin.
All right. Do you see that, Minnesota Vikings fans? Your team and Sam Darnold are just a big joke, right? A big, gigantic pumpkin, a big prop. That's who Sam Darnold is, and the Minnesota Vikings are apparently. Just pumpkin mode. I mean, it's just... I could understand you being skeptical about the Minnesota Vikings and Sam Darnold. I get the skepticism. I'm naturally a very skeptical person. I'm definitely the type of person who tries to just be accurate rather than early, right? I mean, I've made a few predictions that really ended up hitting, like Jaden Daniels, and it feels good, right? It feels good to be like, oh my God, I called this months ago, right? I confess that. But that's really not what I try to do in many of my videos. Sometimes if I really believe in something, I'll say it, but oftentimes I'll be like, I honestly don't know. We'll have to wait and see. So I get the skepticism, but it can cross over to just blatant disrespect, to just blatant nonsense. This idea that Sam Darnold is just on the level right now of like Daniel Jones, for instance, like that he's not helping his team. Like if this team, put it this way, please tell me then, because Sam Darnold was even doing this without Justin Jefferson and Addison and TJ. If Sam Darnold had nothing to do with this, then why did they not continue this when Kirk Cousins went down last year? Why is it that they weren't able to continue with that flow? Right? Please do share why. You can't. There's not an answer. Sam Darnold is obviously a big contributor to this. a big contributor to this team. Was it a perfect game last week versus the Jets? No. Nobody has perfect games every single game. It's just the way it is. And yeah, whether the Jets are an elite defense, a great defense or not, it's irrelevant because they're not a bad defense. We know that. Okay, we know they're not a bottom defense. So it doesn't. So at that point, let's like relax here. Okay. I mean, and they're in London. The weather was weird. The situation was weird. Like it's just a weird situation all around. I wasn't a big fan of the play calling personally, but I also recognize that Kevin O'Connell is the main reason why all of this is happening in the first place. So, you know, you got to take that with a grain of salt. But it's just a blatant disrespect for Sam Darnold is just, it's just bordering insanity right now. And this is what Greg Jennings put up too, where he's like, you're trying to predict the future. Like based on how he's been playing this season, he's obviously not a bottom quarterback. That's obvious. And again, he was doing this not with this full cast of his own Avengers. He was missing a lot of pieces. And now his connection with Justin Jefferson has absolutely been the best quarterback wide receiver duo right now, which is what I said was going to happen. People said, no, you crazy? It's Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb. And how's that looking out right now? CeeDee Lamb and Dak Prescott are not even talking on the sidelines together. Dak is trying to get him the ball and they throws an interception. And then Dak just doesn't throw to him for the entire second half. Yeah. And yet Justin Jefferson is still balling out with Sam Darnold. Looks like that's the best quarterback wide receiver duo right now. Kevin O'Connell is a big part of that. The Minnesota Vikings are a great team with great coaches, with great playmakers, and a quarterback who has officially redeemed himself. You can't just get by 5 games. I could understand if it was 2 games, 3 games, even 4 games. We're at 5 games, 5 full games. Like, that's the funny thing. We want to crown Caleb Williams as the king of the mountain right now. You know, they just earlier in the segment, Greg and Nick were pretty much saying, you know, by the next couple of weeks, Caleb is going to be a top 8 quarterback. And yet we have Sam Darnold, who has actually been playing like a top quarterback, still can't get any respect. And like Wild said, this isn't the mountain of like you used to be on the Jets mountain, right? Because it doesn't matter. No one's playing good with the Jets. No one plays good with the Panthers. I don't care what he did there. He looked really good with the 49ers in his limited role that he had, in his limited opportunity. And now he's looked unbelievably great with the Minnesota Vikings. Am I saying right now you're going to pick Sam Darnold over Lamar Jackson or Joe Burrow or Patrick Mahomes? No, I'm not saying that. But the dude deserves respect. Not to mention, how about this? Everybody ripped Jared Goff for what he did with the Rams, right? They got rid of him and they won a Super Bowl. He was the problem. So why is he so high up? It's a rich tapestry. We know Dak fails every single year in the playoffs spectacularly. Why is he so high? We know Dak also only really balls out against bad teams. Why is he so high? Baker Mayfield, what did he do in Cleveland? Right? Like it just doesn't really make sense. And again, you want to use wins and losses. Like Joe Burrow has 1 win right now. It's just really, really absurd. And those are just those other high. I mean, like, again, what did Geno do? What has Geno done? He's had a season and a half good with the Seattle Seahawks. What about all the years that Kyler Murray didn't make it to the playoffs? You know, what has Trevor Lawrence done? He's won 1 game out of his last, like 8 or something? Like something outrageous? Yeah, man. It's just... I mean, I guess at least it's not at the very bottom, right? I guess it's like, well, at least he thinks he's better than Bo Nix and Andy Dalton, right? Like, that's a good thing, I guess. But I think it's like... It's crazy that when Baker Mayfield turned his career around, going to the Rams, there was a lot of praise, a lot of respect, and a lot of happiness surrounding it. And rightfully so, right? It's always cool to see someone kind of make a comeback, especially after being down and out, right? The underdog story. And there was a lot of praise and a lot of excitement. With Sam Darnold's rise right now and his redemption and his like, hey, I'm actually not a bad quarterback. I'm not a joke in this league. I'm not seeing ghosts. Yet they still make a joke out of him. He's a pumpkin. They literally have a pumpkin prop. I just think it's wrong. I think it's the wrong take, and I think it's the wrong approach. I mean, it's just wild to me. Although you can take a consolation for Sam Darnold, Minnesota Vikings fans, because I know you don't want to hear this, but Jordan Love's on there, which I'm sure you probably don't maybe think he's that good, but he is. He's great. And you have Brock Purdy. So the fact that they're all in that same row, this row right here does not age very well. Because Purdy's a good quarterback, Love's a good quarterback, Darnold's a good quarterback, Lawrence has struggled mightily, and yet he's on that row. So this whole row right here is really just the row of nonsense. The row of made up farts and dreams, okay? So I wouldn't even be too upset about it because it's actually a pretty great row to be on because there's so much wrong with just this specific row that the fact that your quarterback is on there probably is actually a pretty good sign. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What did you guys all think about Sam Darnold just being a laughing pumpkin? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment, so whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions, let's get in some fights, but ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and I'd absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to, something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're well on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much, and see you next time.